Hello and welcome to Zelda Speedruns. It is another match of the Link's Awakening Switch any percent glitchless tournament today. It's lower brackets finals, EDL versus TGH, and on commentary for you is Mchan Plays. So I'll give it over to you.
All right. Now, I got a question for you. Are you excited for this matchup? Uh, oh, okay. Well, that was awkward. Okay. So, yeah. So I'm very excited for this matchup here. We got EDL versus TGH. EDL would have been second place on the Glitchless leaderboard if had a Glan, who's one of the finalists in the tournament, is had a PB'd very recently. But EDL and TGH are both very very good at this category. They are EDL has had the former world record before, whereas TGH currently has the world record. So this is going to be a very exciting matchup here. I expect a very close, evenly matched competition here. Yeah, the winner of this matchup is going to go against Glan, who is the who is on the finals at the moment. So that'll be very exciting. Just want to apologize. I kind of stumbled there on the introduction there. It's currently 9:30. I'm kind of still just waking up when I found out that this matchup was going to happen soon. But it looks like both runners are ready. So we're going to go ahead and as soon as the countdown starts readying up... Wait, LEDX? Is that LED? Oh, yeah, that's the LADX bracket that happened earlier this year, not a Link's Awakening Switch. I think I have the bracket somewhere. Okay, here we go. This is the right one right here. Okay, the runners have started now. Okay, so something to note, if anyone is coming into this stream not knowing anything about the Link's Awakening Switch speedruns, they are starting on a manipulated save file of the game that manipulates a couple puzzles that are otherwise really random, and we'll go over more to that when we get into the game. But here we go. Very exciting matchup here. Third place versus first place. EDL with a time of 1:39.34 and TGH with a time of 1:38.42. So here we go. They're starting off. They wake up in Coholm's Island in Mabe Village, and they are going to go to the beach to find their sword. Right off the bat, TGH is having a little bit of issues there, trying to be a little bit greedy with moving that Spiky over and getting hit in the process for stopping a little bit too early. So it's going to put EDL in a slight lead right off the bat, but it's still early on. Anything can happen. And it's going to come down to... Oh, it looks like TGH already caught up. EDL has already struggled trying to pick up the sword early. But yeah, so they got their sword and their shield, and now they're going to be making their way to the Mysterious Woods, and they're going to get their first dungeon key right off the bat. So the goal of the game is to go around Koholint's Island, get the 8 instruments found in all of the dungeons, and then wake up the Windfish, and then the game is over. All that without using glitches, as the category is called any percent glitchless, so we are taking advantage of only the basic mechanics of the game. The runners are playing on German because German happens to have the fewest amount of text boxes. Since the game goes, the way text works is it goes by boxes, as long as you're mashing through the text, as opposed to scrolling text. Otherwise, Japanese would be the fastest. So right off the bat, you're seeing these runners are going to be keeping track of how many enemies that they kill because they are going to be manipulating a power-up called Piece of Power, and there's 2 power-ups exclusive to Link's Awakening. We have Piece of Power and Guardian Acorn. Guardian Acorn spawns when you kill a certain number of enemies without getting hit, and Piece of Power is when you kill 32 enemies plus however many hearts. So they got their mushroom, the toadstool, and they're going to go back out of Blob Cave, and they're going to be getting these 50 rupees that are in this chest right here, because they're going to be needing those rupees to run a few errands right after they get their first dungeon key. There's a little bit of variance in this first part of the game with these enemy patterns here, so you're going to be seeing the lead change back and forth a little bit in this beginning part, as there are the enemies in this game are very aggressive, and they are semi-random, so you just have to react to what they do. So now they're going to deliver the mushroom to this witch, and she's going to convert it into magic powder. That way you can use the powder to there's a raccoon Terran who's been disguised as a raccoon, and they need to turn Terran back into a human, otherwise the force is going to keep looping. Both runners having to deal with that moblin right there. Yeah, sometimes you have to be careful with your kill count, because like with their kill route, I imagine both of these runners are doing the same kill route here, and if that's the case, then they do have to be a little bit careful to not kill very many extra enemies until they get to the part where they're going to get Piece of Power. So TGH in a slight lead, getting his dungeon key, the tail key. And now they're going to be making their way out of the forest. EDL having 1 heart of HP, but that's fine, because the way drops work in this game is if you're in critical health, which is the point where you hear the game beeping, then the game will always drop hearts whenever you kill an enemy or cut down grasses or bushes. So as you see there, she's already at 2 hearts of HP and not have to worry about health for a little bit here. So coming up here is the first bit of randomness. It's not random, but you may as well call it random. The trendy game. If you know anything about the trendy game from the original version, you'll know that the trendy game is always consistent, but this time they changed the trendy game here, and both these runners getting it first try. That is actually not easy. It's actually not as easy as they made it look, as there are times where you can do everything in the trendy game correctly, but the prize will just fall off anyway. It's just due to how the physics of the trendy game work in this version of the game. But both these runners getting it first try, that is what we like to see in this race of top tier runners here. So because this is glitchless, they do have to do the trading sequence in this beginning part of the run. So they are going to deliver this Yoshi doll that they got from the trading game over to this family, and they're going to get a ribbon, which they're now going to go over to the doghouse and deliver to Chow Chow, the small chain chomp here. In exchange for dog food, which they could deliver it now, but it's a little bit too far out of the way. So now they're going to be making their way to the first dungeon. So both runners are really close. This is usually what we expect to see in the beginning of the run, assuming average RNG for both ends, which it appears to be. TGH having to deal with an Octorok, so now they're both relatively sync up here. And now they're going to be making their way to the first dungeon, which is Tail Cave, which is a dungeon that, well, nobody makes mistakes in it. So Tail Cave, the beginning of Tail Cave is relatively straightforward. They're going to be going straight to the item of the dungeon, which is Rock's Feather. It's an item that allows you to jump. Very important in this game, as jumping allows you to get across many different obstacles early on in the game. And then there's also a couple opportunities where they are going to be pulling off some tricks with the mechanics of the Rock's Feather. As you can see right here, they're synced up here. This is what we like to see. Okay, we're seeing two different approaches here in this room. TGH did a more faster variation where you can knock the Spiny into the pit, and it actually saves a kill because enemies don't count as a it doesn't count as a kill if enemies fall down a pit. You actually have to physically defeat them in order for it to count as a kill. So now TGH can afford an extra kill if he, assuming his piece of power is right on track, which I imagine it is. So they're going to... something exclusive to this version of the game is the game has autosave, and when the game autosaves, it'll save into a different save file, and they can use that extra save file to load from, and for dungeons, that will always take them to the very beginning of the dungeon. The game will autosave whenever you get a major item or transition into a new area. So they'll be taking advantage of this a lot of times throughout many of the dungeons in the game. Also, the key that both these runners got, they could get it first sting because it's right there, but the reason they got it after the Rock's Feather is because if that's your first key in the game, then the game will tell you what a key is about, and you want that to be in a dungeon chest because if you get a key from a dungeon chest, the game will always tell you what a key is about from a chest. So they're approaching the mini-boss of the dungeon, which is Rolling Bones. The strategy here is they want to pin Rolling Bones into a corner. As you can see, both runners doing successfully right here, just like that. Now, bosses in this game are heavily buffed. Well, some more busted than others from the original to this version. Coming up is Moldorm, the very first boss of the game. The very first boss of the first major boss. Moldorm is a hamburger, the worst kind of hamburger because it's a vegetable burger with no meat, and they both made Moldorm look really easy, but it's actually kind of a tough fight early on because you can get knocked around a bit, and you can either take a lot of damage or you can fall down into one of the pits in the corners there. And if you fall down there, then you get taken into a room and you have to make your way back up to the boss room again. And Moldorm regains his HP back when you have to reset the fight. So it can be quite a frustrating fight to do early on. But both these runners making that fight no problem. And that is the first dungeon completed for both of them. Still really close. Alright, and with that, they're going to be making their way out, and with the dog food they got from Chow Chow earlier, they are going to now deliver it down the beach. There's a hut in the beach, and they're going with a crocodile living in there, and they're going to give the dog food to the crocodile in exchange for bananas. And then they're going to make their way back into Maze Village after that. Something else to note is that you saw both TGH and EDL picked up the heart container from the first dungeon. And one of the things that you can do in this game, and this applies with many of the modern Zelda games, is you can skip heart containers if you have the option to. And it saves time, but it makes the rest of the run really, like, the more heart containers you skip in the game, then the riskier your run gets, because you'll have a lot less hearts to work with. But picking up a heart container will save loses about a few seconds, but could pay off in the long run, because later on in the game there will be some hard-hitting enemies, and if you have less hearts going into those enemies, then it could be kind of dangerous. But at these runners' skill level, they're very likely going to stick with 5 hearts throughout the entire run. Sometimes 6, depending on how their end game goes. But you will very likely see them stick with 5 for the whole run. Although I will not be surprised if one of these runners decides to pick up an extra heart container just for the sake of this race. So the kids, when we made our way back to Maze Village, they said that some moblins kidnapped Bow Wow, and now we have to make our way back, and now we have to make our way through the forest again to Moblin's hideout over here. And now here we are, and now we have a mini fight against Moblin King. The strat here is to beat Moblin King in one cycle, which is to beat him without him getting up. Oh, TGH failed it. EDL also failed it. Okay, very nice. And very nice recovery. Okay, both runners with a 2 cycle right there. Yeah, so the Moblin King fight, yeah, so as you can see there, getting a 1 cycle is very precise, because you need to have a precise rhythm in order to keep Moblin King down on the ground without him getting up. But very unfortunate for both runners. They're both going to take a 7-second time loss, but again, this is both runners got a 2 cycle, so they're both still really even. So they rescued Bow Wow from Moblin King, and if you try to take him back to the village, then Madam Meow Meow will say, like, why don't you take him for a walk a bit? And so we are going to use Bow Wow, in this case, to enter the second dungeon. The second dungeon is blocked off by some flowers that you cannot get rid of unless you have Bow Wow. Or some items that we don't even have right now. So right over here, Bow Wow can take a sweet time here. As you can see, right there, it is random when Bow Wow decides to eat the flowers, and EDL got a more favorable pattern, or favorable luck with Bow Wow there, and has now pulled the lead over TGH. Now here we are in the second dungeon. Relatively straightforward. Not really much to say. TGH had a little bit of trouble there with that third room with the 2 Stalfos. EDL extending her lead a bit in there. Yeah, so if you know anything about the glitch categories of this game, then there is a trick that you would do that skips pretty much half this dungeon, but none of these runners are going to go for it because it is any percent glitchless and not any percent. But basically, coming up there, approaching a fight, Moblin King, or Hinox, sorry. And it looks like TGH is going to pick up Piece of Power for the Hinox fight. So there's 2 different Piece of Power routes you can do. There is a piece of power that there's a piece of power for Hinox, which you're going to be seeing TGH do, and then there's also a piece of power for later on in the run that EDL is going to go for, which is to get piece of power at Cantaloupe Castle later on in the game. Now, as far as I know, they're about around the same time. Piece of power for Hinox guarantees a 1 cycle for Hinox, which is to beat Hinox right before he decides to grab you, which both runners managed to do. EDL had to do a piece of powerless fight because she did not have piece of power for Hinox, and you can still get a 1 cycle without piece of power, but it's a little bit harder. But having piece of power for Hinox ensures that you have guarantees a 1 cycle, assuming you can get piece of power over to Hinox. So they both got the item, the power bracelet, and now they're approaching one of the worst rooms in the game here. So in this room, you have to defeat these enemies in a very specific order. It's the Pulse Voice, the Keese, and the Stalfos. If you defeat any of these enemies in the wrong order, then you have to go up those stairs that you see there on TGH's screen and reset the room. And it can be very frustrating if that happens. But luckily, both these runners had no problem with that room at all. And now they're going to be making their way through the rest of the dungeon here. Oh, TGH having a little bit of trouble trying to throw the pots at that Pulse Voice right there. I see a Steam notification on the Switch. Is TGH somehow playing this game on Steam? Alright, so now here we are against the Genie, and there's basically nothing to say for the first half of the fight. You just dodge some fireballs, and then he'll go back into his pot. He's gonna say that as long as he's inside his pot, he can't be hurt. Throw the pot in the wall, and then just rinse and repeat. It's a very exciting fight. So, I guess something else to talk about, since there's nothing to talk about right now, is the fact that Glitchless is a purely execution-based category, because you're not relying on executing glitches very well. So it's a very optimized run. And one of the things that they're doing to save the most amount of time is menuing. Now, as you can see, the game has 2 buttons to work with when you're equipping items, just like in Link's Awakening Deluxe, the Game Boy version. And fortunately, with this version, one of the qualities of life is that some items are always permanently equipped. So you can, which allows for some interesting combination of items that are exclusive in this version that you cannot really do efficiently in the Game Boy version. And menuing is fast in this version, so if they miss menu or have to menu an extra time, it doesn't lose that much time, but anytime that that happens, it does add up, especially at these 2 players' level of gameplay. Alright, so we're actually seeing 2 different approaches here. Dungeon 2 is completed, Bottle Grotto, and you're seeing that EDL got the heart container from the second dungeon, and while TGH skipped it. And that's fine. TGH is going to save a little bit of time, but will have to pick up another heart container later on. I assume after the third dungeon. So he is going to be making up a little bit of time here. And in this next part of the game, he's going to be saving just a little bit of time. And you'll see in a little bit. But it is going to make this next part of the game just slightly riskier for TGH than EDL. But TGH knows what he's doing. So I imagine he's not going to have too much issues with that. So now they're going to be returning Bow Wow because they cannot progress to the next part of the game without returning Bow Wow. And now they're going to go shopping. So here's some bombs. It's 10 rupees. They're going to be buying a bunch of bombs. 30 bombs right here. Pretty sure that's all I need. Oh, wait. What's EDL doing? Wait, go back. Yeah, there you go. Oh, he's not happy. Oh my goodness, man. So that's gonna lose a little bit of time. Oh my god, TGH also dies. Oh my goodness. Why am I commentating for these runners? So fortunately, stealing both the shovel and the bow, the game allows you to keep those items, which saves like 1,000 rupees, which is nice. So now they have the shovel and the bow early. Well, you need the shovel at this point of the game, but they have the bow really early, which is going to allow them to do bomb arrows, as you can see there from EDL's screen. So if you equip a bomb and an arrow and use them at the same time, then you'll have this really cool effect whenever you shoot something out. Anytime you have to use a bomb, they're going to use a bomb arrow instead, as bomb arrows will blow something up instantly as opposed to placing a bomb at where you need to use the bomb and wait for it to explode. So when the shopkeeper killed both TGH and EDL, TGH saved a few frames on dying because TGH has 4 heart containers as opposed to EDL's 5 hearts. So in the ideal situation, TGH skipping the bottle gargle heart container is what you want to do. But this time difference is negligible, which is why EDL chooses to get the second heart container from Dungeon 2. So in every other category except for Glitchless, you will normally skip this sequence because this sequence is very long and doesn't really benefit much in the game. And they're going to Canela Castle, and in Canela Castle, you're going to be collecting these 5 golden leaves that are hidden throughout the castle. There's a guy named Richard who cannot return to his castle but wants these golden leaves because they're very precious to him. And so we have to do it for him. So EDL now has Piece of Power and is going to be using that because there's a you could say it's a mini boss of some sort, but there's an enemy, the Ball and Chain Guard, who has one of the golden leaves, and normally takes a lot of hits to beat. But with Piece of Power, you can reduce the amount of hits that you need to beat him. So most people usually route in Piece of Power for this guy. TGH having a little bit of trouble with this guard right here. Gonna have to opt to using the sword here. He does have 1 heart, which is gonna, and because he's not got a piece of power for, okay, yeah, making the smart choice right there. Yeah, going into this ball and chain guard with just one heart is very scary. So as you can see, without piece of power, you can see how much more hits that TGH had to do for that ball and chain guard. So EDL is slowly extending her lead over TGH. So now EDL has all 5 golden leaves, and is now going to go to Richard for the first time. And the reason they do this is because, it's faster doing it this way than to go to Richard, then go to Canela Castle, and then go back to Richard. So she's going to talk to Richard, to activate the side quests, and she already has the golden leaves, so she is going to, and so Richard's going to be like, oh, you got the golden leaves already. And now he's going to give us access to his backyard, pothole field. It's full of potholes, pits. I don't know how you can do your gardening in your backyard when you have a lot of pits in your backyard. So they're going around this maze here. And they're going to dig up this part. This is the only part in the game where the shovel is required, but they are still going to use the shovel for other places too. And now, with the key that she got, she's going to use that to open up the next dungeon, Key Cavern. TGH is not that far behind from EDL, but this dungeon is definitely where we could potentially see some lead swings, as the Dungeon 3 is the first dungeon where it either goes really well or it goes really poorly. And not really an in-between, but we'll see what happens. So you can see that both these runners are doing all these jumps here. And that's because, you know, when you're walking through grass, you move much slower. So jumping over all these grass patches that both EDL and TGH are doing is much faster. EDL having a little bit of trouble with that room, but backed up just fine right there. Now both runners are now into Key Cavern. It's a dungeon with lots of keys, but they're not gonna be getting every key. Now, something else to note, yeah, so as you can see there, EDL took damage there, and that can sometimes be intentional or unintentional, depending on if you know where your kill count is. And if you know where your kill count is, and you know that Guardian Acorn is going to spawn at a very inconvenient spot, then you can take damage to ensure that Guardian Acorn is not going to spawn at a spot that you don't want it to spawn, which is what EDL probably did. I'm definitely not a sidekick on EDL's gameplay. But now here we are against the Dongo Snake. And the Dongo Snake is it can sometimes be a frustrating fight. What you want to do is you want to place a bomb in front of the Dongo Snake, and it'll eat it, and then you have to wait for it to move 4 times before you're able to place a bomb in its mouth again. If you place a bomb too early, they're not going to eat the bomb, which you can sometimes waste a bomb depending on how greedy you are with placing a bomb in front of them. In the original version, there was a way where you can actually cheese this fight, but that doesn't really work in this version. And it also, there's a glitch in the original version where if you killed one of them, then leave, come back, then both of them are considered dead. And again, that doesn't work that way. If you try to do it, then both of them are going to respawn, and you basically just reset the entire fight. So they both got the item, the Pegasus Boots. It's going to allow them to dash, and now the run is going to go really fast from here on out. And dashing works very interestingly in this game because there's a start animation for when you can dash, and then you can also strafe your dashes and dash diagonally. Returning from Minish Cap. And so dashing is a little bit optimizing your dashes is a little bit more complex in this game than in Link's Awakening Deluxe. There are some cases where dashing all the time is not worth it. The rule of thumb is if you're about maybe 4.5 tiles away from where you need to be, then it's worth dashing. Anything less, you probably don't want to dash. Or also, unless you're about to get hit or something, then yeah, that's also another rule of thumb. So now, with EDL having all 4 keys, she is now going to make her way to the rest of the dungeon. TGH still has a little bit more to go. He did have a little bit of trouble on the Dongo Snake, so he's a little bit farther behind. Very unfortunate, but there is still room for him to gain a bit on EDL. Alright, and now off to Slimeye, or Gigazol in German. You want to hit the eyeball of Slimeye in order for it to split open, then dash to the center, and it's going to split into 2. And then, now you have to defeat both of them. Do a jump right there in order to avoid getting stun lock. Getting stun lock in this fight can be really bad, because if you get stun lock and are inside Slimeye's hitbox, then you could take a lot of damage, and it could be very scary from there. Okay, a little bit of an issue there with TGH's end, but he got through the fight. The more important part about that fight is you don't want Slimeye to jump a second time. So he's gonna get that heart container right there, and I can imagine that for both of these runners, 5 hearts is all they're going to need for the rest of the run. Unless they end up having low hearts towards the end of the run. So this is one of my favorite parts of the run here, as far as optimizing your dashes. They are also they want to make sure that EDL taking a little bit of damage there. They want to make sure they strafe their dashes really well, without bonking, of course. Bonking is really bad in this game, so they want to avoid bonking as much as possible. So you might notice that they escaped D3 in a different way than if you're used to actually playing this game casually. Normally, you would actually go around the dungeon the other way, and Terran will be right by a tree, and you give the stick that you got from the monkeys right before entering Castle to Terran, and you would get a honeycomb. Terran will be chased by bees, and you'll get a honeycomb in return. They're not going to be doing that. If you've never seen a run of this game, you might be asking, like, how they're going to beat the game. They need to do the rest of the trading quests? You know, they're missing a couple steps right now. Meanwhile, EDL is in the Dream Shrine. You just gotta make a dash all around these mimics here. These mimics do like 3 hearts of damage if you somehow get hit by these guys, and that's really scary with how much hearts both these runners have. But they're gonna be getting the Ocarina here. They need the Ocarina in order to beat the game. If there was a way to skip the Ocarina, it would not actually be worth it because there's a bunch of qualities of life they made with the Ocarina in this version. Normally in the original version, you actually deliver the pineapple to Chef Bear. Well, you get a pineapple from Chef Bear in Animal Village, which will actually trigger Marin at the beach. But in this version, they added another way, which is to talk to the walrus. So it allows them to skip a couple extra steps in the training sequence this way. And now they are on a date. So unfortunately, because both these runners died in the run, Marin's wish has not come true. Marin wishes to be a seagull, but that's not going to come true, unfortunately. Now, did you know that this cutscene has some RNG in it? If you pay attention to the seagulls there, they always fly randomly. So now they're going on a date. This date's gonna be like very short-lived, unfortunately, just due to the fact that they just don't really need Marin for that much longer. They only need Marin to wake up the walrus. So you're seeing 2 different ways, or you're seeing like there's 3 different ways to cancel your dashes. You can manually cancel your dash by pressing the opposite direction that you're dashing. You can also cancel it by sword slashing, and you can also cancel it by just jumping. And all 3 situations of dash canceling is they're all very situational. Like in the case that you saw right there with TGH, he needs to cut down grass, that way he doesn't walk in the single tile of grass bush. So this is one of the ways to optimize your dashes in this game. Oh, that was really close on EDL's end right there. The Land Molas fight. Yeah, you can beat the Land Mola in 1 cycle, which is what EDL was trying to go for there. She was trying to use the extra bomb arrow that she shot in order for the splash hitbox to hit Land Mola while it was in the ground, but unfortunately failed to do it. Let's see if TGH can capitalize on this. Okay, very nice. 1 cycle for TGH, saving a good chunk of time over EDL. That is the time. That is what you want to see. So now, EDL is going to be learning the Battle of the Windfish, which it is very important for beating the game. I see Glan in the chat. I should actually note that both these runners actually have went against Glan at some point in the tournament, which means that one of these runners is going to be rematching Glan. So that'll be very interesting to see. Glan pulling off 2 upsets in the tournament here, as in both matches against these runners, Glan was the underdog of the matchup, but has proven to really show himself. So I'm really excited to see one of these guys rematch Glan again to either get a redemption or will Glan further prove his dominance in the tournament. So you're seeing a different approach here than like in a normal gameplay of this game. You can see EDL going through the Castle route in order to get to the keyhole of Angler Tunnel earlier. It saves like 2 seconds if you can get this really difficult dash jump that EDL just got and TGH is approaching to really quickly and first try. So we'll see how TGH does this here. Setting it up. Oh, man. Okay. One of the unfortunate things... Okay, second try. One of the unfortunate things about this route is you're basically committed to this route. If you decide to go for this, and it's hard, as you can see on TGH's screen, it is harder than EDL made it look. So EDL going through the obstacle cave, and is now making her way to Angler Tunnel, the 4th dungeon. And if this was 2019, then this dungeon would be very unexciting to go through. Just gonna start by getting those bomb pickups right there. To be getting a couple keys here before you're going to be seeing some magic happening. She does delay a bit there to kind of see where that spider is going to go to. As one of the weird things about water in this game is that the bomb arrow hitbox, the explosion hitbox, is like a little bit bigger on water. So you saw EDL kind of hesitate there. All right, here we go. So this is the bomb jump. Skips like the first half of the dungeon. Very nice, first try. And soon it'll be TGH's turn to pull this off here. Meanwhile, EDL moving on to the boss, the mini boss of the dungeon, Cue Ball. And Cue Ball is a really terrible hitbox, but you're probably going to be seeing that EDL is going to make this fight look really easy. Okay, very nice. That's harder than she made it look. Cue Ball is not a favorable hitbox. And nice, first try for TGH as well. So, double first try bomb jumps is always what we like to see in a race here. If you mess up the bomb jump enough times, then you could either have really bad HP or not very good bomb count, and both those are pretty important for this part of the run. Oh, TGH letting Cue Ball. Okay, nice recovery right there. If you let Cue Ball go, then the fight can go really poorly. Now, I believe EDL got the fairy from Cue Ball, which will make the next part of the run a little bit safe. Less danger of dying. And you're seeing that both these runners left the dungeon, and that's because if you beat the dungeon now, then there will be a ghost. And the ghost you cannot enter any dungeons if the ghost is following you. So you have to, the ghost will tell you to take him to his house and then take him back to his grave, and it takes like 3 minutes. It's pretty miserable. So by saving Dungeon 4 for last, then they don't have to worry about the ghost quest. The ghost quest will still activate if they beat Dungeon 4 at all. And that's, so that if you decide to 100% the game after you beat the game, then you're not screwed out of 100%. But in the speedrun, it's a little bit of an inconvenience. So they will be going back to Dungeon 4 much later in the run. So the other thing that you're seeing both these runners do is they are going to the Southern Shrine, and normally you would do this after the 5th dungeon, but since you can do it now, and that's what these runners are going to be doing, and doing this after the 5th dungeon doesn't really lose or save any time at all, but they choose to get out of the way. So they're going through these Armos Knights here in this little maze, and these Armos Knights do 2 hearts of damage if they somehow get hit by these guys. Can be scary. And now we have Armos Knight here. Very nice fight for EDL right there. Armos Knights has some pretty weird iframes. So EDL did make that fight look pretty easy. Now she's going to be making her way to the 5th dungeon now. So they have the Dungeon 6 key. So that way, when they are done with Dungeon 5, then they can just go straight to Dungeon 6 immediately after. But now EDL is making her way to Catfish Maw, which is a very difficult dungeon to optimize. There are lots of enemy patterns. Oh, did TGH accidentally auto-load? Oh, that's interesting. Probably zoned, which is fine. But anyway, so the 3rd room right here, the Helmosaur room. That's a very difficult room to do really well. The Helmosaur moves randomly and can sometimes give you a hard time if he doesn't give you a favorable movement pattern. But EDL made that room look pretty easy, and she's going to be getting her first key, and then make her way back to the beginning of the dungeon. Now, the second song that both these runners got, Mambo's Mambo, allows them to, if they use it in a dungeon, then it takes them back to the beginning of the dungeon, but auto-loading is much faster, so they will never use Mambo's Mambo in a dungeon at all. Alright, so now off to the mini-boss, Master Stalfos. Master Stalfos, you fight him 4 times throughout the dungeon, because he stole the item of the dungeon, the hook shot, and you have to chase him around the dungeon, pretty much. It takes 3 bombs to beat him each time. So the strat is pretty much always the same. So here's room number 2. Now, he does spawn in order. You can't just know where all 4 rooms he's going to spawn at are. So as you can see, there's a 1, 2, 3, and a 4 with the blue lights that you see. So there is quite a lot of backtracking that you do have to do in this dungeon. Kind of unfortunate. There's not really a lot that you can do to kind of sequence break this dungeon. Unless you run a glitch category, that is. So after this fight, EDL is going to auto-load back to the beginning of the dungeon and go straight to the 4th Stalfos fight. And that's where EDL is going to get a ruck shot, and then that's where a bit more magic will happen with the game. There's a couple sequence breaks in this game that we do in this run that viewers who are not really familiar with how glitches work in this game kind of question, but they are indeed allowed, and they don't go against the spirit of what this category is supposed to be about. This category is called Glitchless, not sequence breakless. So they're going to be getting the hookshot now. And before they go to the rest of the dungeon, they are missing the boss key, so they're going to get the boss key, or nightmare key, as it's called in this game. TGH finished Master Stalfos and is now going to be getting his hookshot. There is a glitch that you can do with the hookshot that allows you to skip the rest of the dungeon, but they're not doing that in this run. So they're going to be getting their nightmare key now. Just like that, and now it is off to being the rest of the dungeon, and there is a sequence break that EDL is going to be doing in order to skip having to get an extra key, as well as a mini boss. Even if you get every single key in this game, there is another mini boss that you could fight that is completely skippable in this game. So coming up, EDL is going to perform what we call skewing. And that is that in this game you only move in 8 directions, even though you have an omnidirection control stick. When you jump in this game, you can change the direction to be an omnidirectional, and that is what EDL is going to take advantage of in order to pretty much skew your angle in order to do this. Oh, having a little bit of trouble. There we go. So you cannot do that in any of your 8 directions. So she angled herself slightly so that way she could hookshot to the top of that block right there. It can be pretty precise and can be really tricky to set up, but it's definitely not a difficult thing. It saves a key. So it's not like a huge sequence break, but it is really cool to see. Alright, so Slime Eel takes 16 hits to beat. This would actually be the next part of the run where you would get Piece of Power, but EDL did not get Piece of Power and got a Guardian Acorn instead. So she's going to be resorting into Piece of Powerless Slime Eel fight, which she's having a little bit of trouble here. Basically, this fight is completely RNG. You pick a side, and you have a 50% chance of getting the guess right. Having a little bit of trouble there. TGH also not having Piece of Power here, but this could but this could be his chance to kind of capitalize on the slightly unfortunate luck that EDL had. I believe EDL had a 5 cycle for the slime meal fight. Okay, that's a good amount of hits there. If you have Piece of Power for this fight, then you can actually have a 1 cycle for slime meal. But neither of these runners have Piece of Power, and they're going to be resorting into a 2 cycle. TGH having a 2 cycle, saving a very good chunk of time over EDL. That's the opportunity TGH needs in order to catch up to EDL. So very good to see there. So both these runners are now done with Catfish Maw and are making their way straight to Face Shrine, as they have already gotten the Face Shrine key. So that pit that EDL just passed by, and TGH is approaching. There's 2 names that we call it. There's Node Cave and there is Zorlax Jump. Shout outs to both of these runners, legendary runners in the Game Boy Link's Awakening community. And now here we are in Face Shrine, the longest dungeon in the run here. It is a roughly 8-minute dungeon or less, and it's pretty technical of a dungeon. I'd say this dungeon is probably just as hard as Dungeon 5 to optimize. So that green ball that EDL just passed by can sometimes be in your way as you make that jump. But thankfully the ball was not in her way. And she's going to be getting the item of the dungeon, which is the more powerful bracelet, as it's called in this game. It's going to allow them to pick up these elephant statues right here. Oh, TGH having a little bit of issue there. Did not pick up. Wait, what's he doing? Oh! I actually have not seen that before. I have no idea what he's doing. Auto loads? Is he going back to reset the wizard room? Wait, does he not have bombs or arrows? Okay, I think he's lost. Oh, he has no bombs! That's a situation. Uh-oh. Oh, this is actually really unfortunate. Oh, man. Okay, meanwhile, EDL is approaching Smasher. Oh, man, that was really close. Okay, so, you can actually grab the ball right before Smasher beats you to it, but it's, like, really, really precise and really difficult. Man, that was really close. Okay, so TGH's Dungeon 6 route is now mixed up now. He did get one of the keys a little bit out of order to the normal Dungeon 6 route that we do. And this is a really unfortunate situation that you do not want to put yourself in. So that was very unfortunate. Thankfully, one of the nice qualities of life in this game, as opposed to the original game, is that when you clear in a room where you have to defeat a lot of enemies, then you don't have to clear it again. So he was able to skip past fighting those 4 Zols that he passed by in the dark room. So now he has his more powerful bracelet and is now going to be doing the second half of the dungeon. But that's going to put him significantly behind EDL, unfortunately. Man, but that was very unfortunate. Usually, in the most ideal situation, running out of bombs is really rare. Alright, so we're approaching Horsehead Room. Hopefully EDL gets multiple tries of Horseheads to have TGH catch up here. Oh, but she gets it first try, because, of course. There's actual strategy in Horsehead, so as long as you do everything right, then you always get Horsehead first try. TGH, I think if I saw that correctly, I think TGH got the early ball grab that EDL failed to get. So that's gonna have him make up a little bit of time. Coming up next is the Dongo Snake Round 2. Now this Dodongo Snake fight is much harder, because you just have a lot less space to work around with. So it's a little bit more of a challenge trying to Okay, very nice. Alright, no problem for EDL right there. Now EDL's gonna make her way to the boss key. She's going to throw a pot at the chest, because it's the only chest in the game where you do this. And then now she's going to be making her way to the end of the dungeon. Oh man, EDL was trying to do something really cool there, but got a little bit punished for it though. But that's okay. All right, the facade fight. 6 bombs to beat him. You're gonna be seeing some pretty crazy strats for EDL. Wasting a bomb arrow there. Yeah, so by shooting a bomb arrow at the tiles as they fly across Facade's face, then you can use that explosion to hit Facade. So went a little bit out of hand, but that was still a pretty good fight for Facade. If you miss a shot in this fight, then you could waste a lot of arrows, and also the fight could also take longer depending on depending on how you back up the fight. So the way that she fought Facade is actually harder than she made it look. So due to TGH's situation where he did run out of bombs in this dungeon, EDL is now at a very comfortable lead. But it doesn't mean that everything is like set in stone. There's still opportunities in this game where TGH can make up some time, but that's a very unfortunate situation that is usually very rare. Alright, so now EDL is making her way to the most unexciting part of the run, which is the Signpost Maze. You read a sign, and it's going to tell you where the next sign is, and if you read the same sign twice, or you read the wrong sign by accident, then you have to reset the entire Signpost Maze. Could lose you a minute, not something that you want to see. But then your reward past Signpost Maze is very much worth it, in my opinion. Some people can disagree. But the execution through Signpost Maze is very technical, as you can see right here. She is optimizing dashes, using hook shots, making sure that she doesn't, she does not have enemies in her way. And there we go. Alright, let's go and take a listen to this song right here. It's, in my opinion, my second favorite Ocarina song. I like these beats here. So now EDL has the Frog Song of Soul, which she is going to be using a total of 2 times in this run. And is going to be making her way back out of Signpost Maze here. Oh, it takes a bonk, yeah. In her situation right there, it was a little bit awkward to try to get out of that. So it was probably bound to it was likely to happen. The Octorok was not in a very good position. Now she, with the level 2 bracelet, she moves the rooster statue from in Mabe Village and is going underground to revive this rooster. Which, in a original Link's Awakening run, you would actually skip this, because you just never really need the rooster at all. But, the rooster is really powerful in this version of the game. You don't really see how good the rooster is in this run, but in other categories you do, and it's pretty powerful. So back to the obstacle cave EDL goes, and coming up would be a very well-known trick if you know anything about Link's Awakening speedruns, called Rooster Skip. But she has the rooster already, so she does not need to do Rooster Skip at all. Rooster Skip very likely doesn't work, if at all, just due to the mechanics of the pits in this game. And the fact that you cannot use items over a pit like you originally could in the original version. Let's see what EDL's approach here is. The last time I saw her race... okay. I had a feeling this was going to happen. So you can do this. You can also dash around, which is faster than what EDL did. dashing around those rocks can sometimes be risky because you can fall down, and if you fall down, then you get sent out of the cave, and you have to climb your way back to the cave again, losing you like 40 seconds. And now she has the Eagle Key and is making her way to the next dungeon. Not having favorable luck with those bats there. So that's a nice little shortcut that you can do in this version. Game Boy version cannot do that, sequence break. Just due to the fact that in this version there's hardly any screen transitions. So, if anyone remembers playing through Dungeon 7 casually, then your childhood's probably going to be ruined, because they know exactly the fastest way to go through this dungeon. This is a very unique dungeon where it's a form of a tower as opposed to just a dungeon with multiple rooms. Oh man, chat. But yeah, so the purpose of this dungeon is there are multiple floors, there's 4 floors, and you want to... Oh man. Having a little bit of issue here with this room right off the bat. There's a metal ball that they're going to be carrying around throughout this second floor coming up. And they're going to be knocking down 4 pillars in order to turn... the third floor into a non-existent floor. So resetting that room is faster than trying to be very fast in that room and hold a lever to open up those blocks. Now EDL's going around in this first floor to go over here to this tile room over here. Now, one optimization that EDL is going to be doing here is on the very last tile. When you break the last tile, then it will open the door immediately, which EDL didn't quite do, but that's fine. Now, you do want to be careful with this ball when you're carrying this ball around. You can sometimes throw the ball in the pit if you're not careful, which you shouldn't really see from either of these runners, but it is possible. And it can be really bad if the ball falls down the pit. Sometimes, I don't know about this version, but I know in the original version, could also soft lock in this dungeon. Thankfully you're not going to be seeing that here. So EDL getting the mirror shield, the level 2 shield. You do need it exactly one time in this game, and you can actually get the mirror shield early, but it doesn't save any time if you do. Because you do have to make your way back to that room anyway. Wow! My god, EDL fought that boss first try? My goodness, what a legend. How does she do it? She gets the Nightmare Key. It's gonna be making her way back down. And taking care of the rest of the dungeon here. TGH only about a couple minutes or less behind EDL. So at this point of the run, he is running out of time to make up time to end catch and make up some room after some of his unfortunate mishaps that he's had. So that's all four pillars cleared up. There. TGH fighting the Grim Creeper. And also gets it in one cycle. It's actually really easy. Just stand at the very top right spot there. Alright, sorry about that. I had to step out for a moment there. So you may notice that EDL actually left the dungeon and is not completing it. And just like Dungeon 4, there's actually there's a cutscene like right here that she's going to be passing by that she's not going to be seeing at all. When you complete the dungeon, then Maren will be at the bridge. You have to save her. There's no way to avoid saving her. So by not completing Dungeon 7 right now and coming back to it right away, then you can just bypass that cutscene. The cutscene's about a minute long. So revisiting Dungeon 7 later is worth it. Oh man. Oh man, that's very unfortunate luck right there. Yeah, you could actually just straight up die in that part right there. But the game gave her mercy this time. TGH earlier had a little bit of trouble in the Three Oaks room, Three of a Kind, as it's called. Earlier we just saw the one use of the Mirror Shield, and now here we are on the Solar Rock fight. You can skip this in the original version, but it's you cannot do it this time. You actually have to fight the boss. So here we go. It's actually a pretty cool fight if all goes well. Starts off by 3 bomb arrows, and you want to and now you just slash this guy a bunch of times. He does hurt if you do get hit by him. 2 hearts of damage, I think. It's either 2 hearts or 1 heart, but either way he hurts. And very good fight. Grabbing that fairy just so she doesn't die later on in the dungeon. And now here we are in Turtle Rock. Not to be confused with Turtle Rock from A Link to the Past. And if you remember going through this casually, then again your childhood is probably going to be ruined, because just like Dungeon 7, they know exactly where to go and what rooms not to go into in this dungeon. There's a lot of rooms, and what makes this dungeon pretty complicated is that this dungeon is actually normally like a mini-boss gauntlet. Like, almost every mini-boss makes a return to this dungeon, but they're only going to be fighting 3 mini-bosses? Oh my goodness. Okay, so TGH is going to have to reload the cave there. TGH is just having some very unfortunate circumstance. He's at quarter of a heart here. This is not good for TGH. It's gonna be very scary trying to go up against Turtle Rock here. Let's see how he handles this. He's going in with just a quarter of a heart. I mean, if he dies, he's gonna spawn right in front of the fight. But this is not really. Let's just see what happens. Oh my god, please get that heart. Okay, good. Alright, he should be fine. Okay, he should be almost done. Okay, there we go. Alright, oh my goodness, that was really close for TGH right there. Now, TGH has so far been running into these situations where the game's been kind of bullying him a bit. That's just kind of the nature of, that's kind of the nature of this game, unfortunately. Meanwhile, we missed a bunch of stuff on EDL's screen, but EDL is approaching Blano, the first mini-boss that we fight, if this goes well, this looks really cool. Oh. Try to hit Blano as early as she could. At 1 heart now. This could be... Uh-oh. If she gets hit by that punch, then she gets sent back to the beginning of the room, I think? In the original version, it's the beginning of the dungeon. That was really close for EDL. I imagine she's probably gonna get this fairy. Okay, yeah, she's getting that fairy to ensure that she doesn't die later on the dungeon. A lot of crazy things happening between both runners' ends here. So now EDL gets the Magic Rod, which has been, in my opinion, I'd say it's arguably one of the most nerfed items. With the other item being heavily nerfed, being the boomerang, which you're not going to be seeing either of these runners getting. It does a lot less damage, and there is a bit of a delay when you use the Magic Rod. At least the delay is worse in this version. But they are still going to be using the Magic Rod for a few things here. Such as lighting up that torch right there in order to get this key. And then she's going to use that key to get to the Nightmare Key. This room's called Burless, because in the original version, if you can go through this room really smoothly, then you will not get the burn text. Alright, so this is Cue Ball, round 2. This fight is, I'd say it's easier, but it's still really hard to get a really good fight here. You have to precisely aim these arrows at Cue Ball. You miss an arrow, then it's very hard to back up the fight. But that's a very clean fight for EDL there. So this room, there's like 26 different 26 or 27 different combinations to go about with this room, and this is one of the ways that EDL is doing it. Now she's getting the Nightmare Key and is going to be going through the rest of the dungeon now. So this is Hinox here on TGH's screen. It takes 3 dash hits because we're a bit more powerful. And there we go. So coming up, out of all the bosses that they had to buff up and make different, and make worse, is Hothead. Hothead's gonna be roaming around the room whenever you shoot him with a fire rod the first time as he comes out of the lava. And you want to be precisely aiming your fire rod shots, your magic rod shots at Hothead as it roams around the room like this. There we go. That is a nice 1 cycle in the first phase, and a nice 2 cycle on the second phase. The first cycle is definitely hard, or the first phase is definitely harder than the second phase, but that was a really good fight right there for EDL. Oh, TGH having a little bit of trouble. Okay, there we go. So that's Dungeon 8 completed. And now EDL is going to be making her way back to the 7th dungeon. And because she's already completed like all of the 7th dungeon, all she has to do is go straight to the boss. Meanwhile, TGH is making his way to Hothead. So take this warp portal and go straight to the boss. Now, the Evil Eagle fight has some randomness to it. There's 5 different attacks that it does. Middle swoop, low swoop, and a high swoop. And then a Gus attack, which you don't want to see, and a dive. The first attack will always do a middle swoop, and every other attack is a 20% chance of what it does. So EDL starts off with getting 3 arrows in. That's a spin slash and another 2 arrows. You can cancel the dive attack, the Gus attack, by going down the ladder briefly like that. This is looking really good for EDL here. EDL opting not to use the rest of her arrows because she does need the rest of those arrows for other things later in the game. And so that was a pretty good fight for EDL right there, for Evil Eagle. You can sometimes lose a lot of time just due to the randomness of that fight. It's very unfortunate, especially like very late into the run. We'll see how TGH capitalizes on EDL's RNG for that fight. I'm not really sure what where TGH is at for arrow count. I imagine it's a little bit more, considering he did have to go out of his way in the 6th dungeon in order to get more arrows, just due to the situation that he ran into. So we'll see what happens from there. So now the only dungeon that they have left is to go to Angler Tunnel and complete the second half of it. They've already done one half of the dungeon, now they're going to be doing the second half of the dungeon. And due to RNG manipulation that I explained very early in the race, they know exactly what puzzle that they're going to be getting as they make their way to the Nightmare Key. And even without RNG manipulation, there's 4 different combinations if you know all 4 of them, and there's a 25% chance at getting one of those puzzles right. So here's one of the puzzles here for EDL right there. I imagine TGH is going to get either a similar puzzle or the same puzzle. I'm not actually sure what... I'm not familiar with this RNG seed that EDL and TGH both have. Okay, very good fight for TGH right there. EDL got her Nightmare Key, and is going to be making her way to the boss, Angler Fish. Okay, nice. That jump is tougher than she made that look right there. It could potentially be faster, but it's a bit hard to set up right there. And now here's the fight. And she's going to be chaining double spins on Anglerfish here. Oh, missed that one. Yeah, later on in the fight, it gets a little bit tough because now we have falling rocks, and those rocks will get in your way. But there we go. Looking at EDL splits, and her stream, she's on a pretty good run right now. I'm pretty sure, looking at her timer, I'm seeing either a very high 139 or a low 140, which is going to be pretty crazy. Oh, TGH missing that tile right there. Yeah, you want to be standing on those tiles for at least a few frames in order for the tiles to activate. Okay, so we're seeing the same Dungeon 4 puzzle. So they're both on the same RNG seed. So as long as these guys don't go down from the entrance for whatever reason, then the ghost should not spawn. As they have already completed Dungeon 4, but now they have no worries, and they're going to be making their way straight to the egg. And as traditional to Link's Awakening commentary, we're going to be quiet during what we call the national anthem. So now the first thing that EDL is going to be going through is the Windfish Egg, and it is a maze. And fortunately, due to the RNG manipulation, she knows exactly the path for the maze, which completely obsoletes the second half of the trading sequence. You may notice that none of these runners have completed the second half of the trading sequence, which is from the honeycomb and onwards. Up to the magnifying lens, and as a result you can see that the egg is dark right here, and that's just one of the side effects. The nightmare fight coming up is it's divided into 6 different phases. The first phase is the Blob Phase, and the Blob Phase you just sprinkle magic powder on it 3 times. The second phase, I want you guys to put in some guesses from 0 through 9 in the chat. But the second phase is Aghanim, and Aghanim takes 4 hits to beat. The first shot is always an energy shot, and every other shot is 50% chance for an energy shot or a blue ball. Fortunately, in this game, Aghanim cannot do the same attack 3 times in a row. So, assuming you don't miss a single energy shot, then the worst you can get is 9 blue balls. So, I think we saw one. I think this is the second one right here. And there we go. So that's pretty good luck for EDL right there. And now, coming up is Moldorm. Just takes a bunch of spin slash right here. Moldorm has a pretty weird hitbox, which is why she was able to spin attack the head of Moldorm. Next up is Ganon. 2 spin slashes and a dash attack through Ganon right there. That's actually a lot more precise than she made it look. You could actually die against Ganon, just from how poorly the fight can go. And then finally is Landmolas, a bunch of spin slashes. And then finally is Deathel. 10 arrows to beat it, with 2 arrows per cycle. Sometimes you can get a third one in if you're really good. I imagine EDL's not going to go for it just because she has exactly 10 arrows, and the 3 arrows per cycle strat is really risky unless you have a lot of arrows to work with. Okay, 2 more hits. Oh man! Oh man, alright. Fortunately, if you run out of arrows, then there's a backup, which is use a magic rod. It does less damage, but EDL just wants to show. But, man, look at this time right here. This is 1:40:06. That is, or 07 according to the race bot. But wow, insane run right there. And so with that, EDL is going to be moving on to the finals, where she's going to be rematching Glan. Anyone who's followed along the tournament, EDL and Glan actually raced each other in round 3 of the tournament, and now they're going to be meeting each other again on the finals. So I'm personally really excited to see this match. But how about that, ladies and gentlemen? 2nd place versus 3rd place for the finals. That's not really something you see very often. But let's go ahead and watch TGH here. Yo, EDL. Are you muted? Okay, I can hear you now.
Oh, okay.
Alright, so, first off, let's start off, I'm gonna ask you, before this race, how did you feel, like, knowing that you're up against, TGH, you're both, like, around the same level of skill in this particular category? How does that make you feel?
I was kind of worried. Especially because he did confirm that he did practice. I was very like, well, I'm gonna give it a go.
Mm-hmm.
And
all right,
see where it goes. And yeah.
All right. And I assume you probably weren't really you weren't really aware of the progression of the race, because you were really playing out of your mind in.
I was, but I got the big anxiety because I was like, oh my god, this is like 100% gonna PB even with the worst RNG in the world, and I really lost it. It really slipped a lot, and I tried my best, but I got the big nerves because I know TGH. I was like, damn it, like grab it, just stop slipping.
Mm-hmm. How did you feel about this run? Overall, like this was a really good time.
I mean, it's the kind of times that I've been clocking in nonstop for the last 3 weeks or something. I don't know. I it's a good time. It's a really good time. You can see if you've been looking. I don't know if someone has been looking at my splits, but you can see for you could have noticed that I was something like almost like 50 seconds ahead of my average at some point, which was way ahead of my PB.
Yeah, that's definitely really good to see. Definitely, like consistency is always a really good thing. Like playing like really close to your average or your best, it's always like really good to see in a race. We have so TGH is here.
Hi.
First of all, TGH, I want to say that I felt I was really feeling for you during Dungeon 6, like the beginning of Dungeon 6.
I'll start off by saying I didn't even know that it was possible to run out of bombs.
Oh yeah.
Like I legitimately am. I mean, like I know that I had some spots like near, like in Canalet, for instance.
Oh, I had that happen
and whatever
recently.
Yeah, like I know that I had a bunch of bombs used in Canalet, but I did not even know it was possible to like actually just straight up run out. I've never come across that situation before, and I didn't realize that I was so low on bombs until like when I was in the room. Like I don't usually pay attention to bomb count in the run, but
Yeah.
I do have to say though real quick, GG's EDL.
Yeah, GG.
Yeah, and good luck in the finals.
Thank you. I'm gonna try. That's always what I do.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun finals to watch too.
Yeah. So aside from that mishap in Face Shrine, how did you feel about the run, like overall?
Not great. I
Okay.
know, like I did not play up to like my normal expectations. I am not particularly happy with how I played, and I'm gonna leave it at that. But yeah, like EDL absolutely deserved that win and deserves to go to the finals.
Yeah.
I don't know if people know, but if you have bomb issues in a no reset setting, the trick is to ideally if you catch it, you look at your bombs. I think in D5 because there's the dead drop, right?
Yeah, there's the extra pickup in the right side.
If you didn't catch it and you're in D6, then the strat is to do the part that we do normally after bracelet first, because there's
that's what I did.
Yeah,
I auto loaded and then went to the I'm forgetting the name of my own strat. The scatter shot key, the double wizard key,
the Peg's key room.
Yeah,
I
blew myself up in the room.
Yeah, I just went and did that, grabbed the bombs on the way, and then went and got the bracelet. But Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
by
I-
that point, I was pretty sure I was out of it anyway. Like, I mean, I was already playing catch up. So it's like, okay.
I
Yeah.
did slip quite a bit though. Like I think I didn't get my piece of power.
You did not
I
get piece of power in either
miscounted.
spot.
Huh? No, I thought
Uh,
I didn't count it.
Or right, yeah, okay, yeah, sorry. You did get piece of power in Canalet, but you didn't but you got a Guardian Acorn instead for Dungeon 5, or at least it dropped. You
Yeah.
didn't pick it up. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I think I got a Guardian Acorn. I think I counted
Well,
properly.
it dropped,
but
but you didn't pick it up. And then you had like a 5-cycle wall slime meal fight.
It was not super great, but you know the crazy part is I could have still PB'd even despite that. I would have been so mad, honestly.
Yeah,
to have
I
my
was looking at
PB
that
have a
video
5
comparison.
cycle.
Yeah, I was looking at that video comparison on the corner of your stream and saw that you were playing really close to your PB.
But yeah, and it kept slipping like a bit at the end throughout. Like I went from basically 50 seconds under average to 10, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I say honestly, like a big GG is to like everybody, not just TGH for sure. Like I'm glad that you took the time to get some practice in, and probably tried your best for sure.
I did, yeah.
And
Yeah.
but GG's to like literally everybody so far in the tournament. So I have enjoyed watching the matches a lot. Personally, it's super good.
So since this is your last race for you, TGH, what is going to be your plan for what's going to be your plan for the future for either for this game or just later on?
I don't know. Like as far as this game goes, I'm not really sure. I'll be watching the finals though for sure. Hopefully, it's at a time when I'm somewhat awake. But as for other games, like I've been focusing lately on the Minish Cap 90%.
Okay.
Which like I learned that run probably about a month ago, and it's seeing some really hot developments. Like this year, especially, and also lately, like there's a new skip that's 5 days old. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know much about Minish Cap speedruns, but that's really awesome seeing the game being like changing.
Yeah, that's super exciting. Like anytime a game gets a skip like that, like it was like that for LAS any percent, like just like a couple months ago with the new D6 facade skip.
Yeah.
And some other stuff that I quite actually remember right now, but I know there was some other significant stuff. But like anytime a speedrun has a skip like that that's newly found, it's just like super invigorating for that community.
Yeah, for sure. All right,
enough about that. Yeah, EDL, huge GGs, great race, and best of luck in the finals.
Thank you. I'm gonna give GG's to Glenn in the future ahead of time. I know Glenn has been
is that a call out? I'm kidding.
I do want to ask for you,
Glenn has
EDL.
been grinding like crazy. He's been climbing.
Yeah, but I do want to ask you, EDL. You did face Glenn earlier in the tournament, and now you're going back. You're going into finals. You're rematching him again. So how does that make you feel, knowing that?
Because I owed him a rematch. I was such a terrible mental state on that matchup. That's why I got 8 try Yoshi. I've never heard of anybody get that ever. It was terrible. Honestly, like, I was not in the right place at all. And I told him I will do a rematch. I don't care if it's a tournament or anything, but like I need to give you a better raise than this.
Yeah, well, now's your time to redeem yourself a bit here. But also, if you beat him, then you got to go against him again. So
Yeah, I know. I
yeah,
know.
that's
Don't
quite a
worry.
bit of
Oh,
work for you.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
So
I
no,
didn't.
no. So the bracket reset. I forgot about the bracket reset.
No, I did not forget about it.
Yeah.
That's why I'm like, yeah, I'll try my best.
Yeah, for
Be
sure. Well, I wish you good luck, and congrats TGH for making third place. Third place is usually like not easy for a lot of people, but huge. But congrats on third place in the tournament. I wish to see you more in this game in the future, which I know you probably will. And thanks everyone for watching this race. Really exciting to watch. And thank you, iBot, for restreaming the race.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
thank you, MChan, for basically allowing us to make the restream happen. So,
No
Yeah,
problem.
thank you for the last minute commentary, Mchan, and since
Absolutely.
this is kind of like my the end for me in this thank you to everybody involved. Thank you to ZSR for hosting us. Thanks to the organizers for everything. Y'all are awesome. To the viewers, much love, everyone. Seriously, thank you.
and yeah, also GG's to both of you for a great race to watch. Coming up on ZSR, we have the Ocarina of Time Randomizer NA Weekly at 6 p.m. Eastern, which also doubles as the first qualifier for the Season 5 tournament, if I'm not mistaken. And at 9 p.m. Eastern, there might be the Breath of the Wild any percent bi-weekly race. And then, yeah, just more tomorrow. Refer to the schedule for all of that. And with that, thank you for watching.